Hello, and welcome back to my month-long video challenge. Today is day 16, and this is video number 12. So in terms of my attempt to make a video every day for the month of January, not exactly doing great, but not exactly doing terrible. Today we're going to be talking about the Darksaber from Star Wars, and this video contains spoilers for the following: the Clone Wars series, Star Wars Rebels, and the Season 1 finale of The Mandalorian. If you have not yet seen those, I suggest you stop the video now. This is your only warning. Alright, so the Darksaber is a unique lightsaber created by the first Mandalorian Jedi, Tare Vizsla. He created it sometime before 1019 BBY. To explain BBY, that's before the Battle of Yavin, a significantly important time in the Star Wars canon. The Battle of Yavin was when the first Death Star was destroyed, and so that being such a crucial event in Star Wars canon, one of the several time systems used in Star Wars is based around that date, everything being before or after. The Darksaber itself has a black blade surrounded by a white halo. It is called a Darksaber rather than a lightsaber because the blade itself is black and is itself an absence of light. The white halo that surrounds the edge of the blade is reminiscent of an accretion disk around a black hole, which has led some fans to speculate that the blade of the Darksaber might actually be a contained shaped black hole. One of the other features of the Darksaber that lends credence to this theory is that the Darksaber has a unique ability to draw things to it, including other lightsabers, giving its wielder certain advantages in combat. At some point during the fall of the Old Republic, the Darksaber itself was stolen from the Jedi Temple, where it was housed, by members of the Mandalorian House Vizsla. They then passed it down through their family for generations, the leader of the family being the wielder of the Darksaber, until it eventually was inherited by Pre Vizsla. And Pre Vizsla became the head of a Mandalorian sect known as the Death Watch. Now, at this point in time, the Mandalorians had split into multiple sects, one of which had become completely pacifistic and were dedicating themselves to pacifism and neutrality. The Death Watch, on the other hand, was a reaction to that. They wanted to go back to the old warrior ways. They were brutal and barbaric. And eventually, the Death Watch were able to defeat their pacifistic counterparts and become the rulers of Mandalore. Pre Vizsla then became the de facto ruler of Mandalore until he was defeated by Darth Maul. The Death Watch had established a rule that that anyone could challenge their leader to single combat, and if they were able to defeat them, they would then become the head of the Death Watch. So at this point, Darth Maul became the head of the Death Watch, and therefore essentially the head of the Mandalorians. There was a subgroup of Mandalorians who called themselves the Night Owls, who refused to accept the rule of Darth Maul because Darth Maul was not, in fact, a Mandalorian. Eventually, Darth Maul held the Darksaber until he was defeated by his master, Emperor Palpatine. And he later regained it and held it and kept it at a Night Sister lair on Dathomir until it was retrieved from there by Sabine Wren, a Mandalorian who had joined the rebellion during the time of the Empire. Wren later defeated Gar Saxon, the ruler of Mandalore under the Empire. He was sort of a puppet leader who worked for Emperor Palpatine ultimately. And when she defeated him, since he was the head of the Mandalorians, and she defeated him, in a sense, she proved that she was the rightful owner of the Darksaber, and I suppose technically the rightful leader of the Mandalorians. She then used the Darksaber as a rallying point to convince the Mandalorians to join the rebellion. Eventually, she gave it to another Mandalorian by the name of Bo-Katan, who she felt was the person who should be the true leader. After this, we're not sure what happened. There is a bit of a hole in the timeline. But eventually, it came into the hands of Moff Gideon, an Imperial officer who was involved in the Great Purge of Mandalore, in which the Mandalorian people were effectively destroyed, and what was remaining of the Mandalorians sort of scattered throughout the galaxy. It is logical to assume that Gideon somehow attained it during the Purge. And it would be quite a trophy, since that was, for many generations, a symbol of the leadership of one of the great houses of Mandalore, and for a time, a symbol of leadership of the entire Mandalorian people. It is essentially a sacred artifact to the Mandalorian people. And so its appearance in this series, when the Mandalorians are all but gone, and one of the few remaining Mandalorians has been slowly gaining more equipment, and this is an enemy that you know he's going to continue to come into contact with. I can only assume that eventually he is going to, the titular character of the Mandalorian will end up defeating Moff Gideon and taking the Darksaber, thereby showing himself to be the head of a potential future Mandalorian people. I'm pretty excited to see if that's how things play out. That seems logical to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had some fun researching this one. And as part of my challenge, I am now going to pick another topic out of the hat to attempt to do tomorrow. So we're going to do that now. Get the hat. I've got two. I need to. Okay, there we go. All right. Okay, this is sort of a vague one. Cemeteries. All right, that should be interesting. All right, well, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, you know how YouTube works, you know what to click. I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching. Stay spooky.